Joining me now is CTV News political commentator and former NDP leader Tom Mulcair. Good to see you, Tom. Thanks for being here.
Good to be with you, Renee.
So, what do you make of the court ruling that most of President Trump's tariffs are illegal?
It's extremely important. This is pure Trump. He does something that all the advisors around him, all of the legal opinions in the government would have said, boss, you're overstepping your bounds. You're doing something that only Congress can do. Push that aside, come up with all these tariffs. They've been ruled illegal, but as was just said in the lead up to our talk, Renee, there are any number of ways that Trump can use the same tactics he's used in business to slow everything down. He'll keep appealing, he'll keep attacking the decision makers, he'll keep saying that he's right, and anybody goes against his illegal decision, they're the ones who are going to be causing chaos and trouble for the United States. Pure Trump. Same tactics. We've seen it time and again. But it is a huge problem for businesses because, of course, in the meantime, those tariffs continue. With regard to the de minimis tariffs, this is, we're all practicing our Latin. That actually comes out of a longer expression that translates as, look, the law doesn't care for trifling things. The law is there for big things. So this is why it was set, because if at some point, Renee, it costs you more in Border Patrol agents and people going through the packages and checking that it's been done, then it's a losing proposition. You don't actually take in anything on those tariffs. The fentanyl argument, which is one that they serve up with different sauces depending on the week, is just goofy because they're going to maintain de minimis for anything sent by an individual that's valued at under $100. So basically what they're trying to say is if you're sending a Christmas present to your Aunt Martha in Maine, no problem. It's, it's going to get through the border free. But that takes away their own argument about fentanyl because, of course, it could have just as easily been in that tariff-free package. And it's not the fact that it's got a tariff that means you've actually been able to open it and find out whether it's got fentanyl. But fentanyl comes up time and again because the Americans have this exemption where they get to say if it affects national security, they can breach the rules, for example, of the Canada, U.S., Mexico trade deal. So they've always kept for themselves that escape clause for anything that they do at the border, as long as they can affirm that it's due to national issues. So they do the same thing with softwood lumber. They say, no, this has become a question of national security for the United States. In Trump's first term, he did the same thing on steel. He brought in steel tariffs. Now, eventually they were negotiated away. But the key word here is chaos. It is pure chaos, havoc for the small businesses with regard to de minimis, and for the bigger businesses who simply don't know which way this thing is going to turn.
Now, the de minimis exemption will likely come up during Canada's negotiations with the U.S. With this ruling now from the court that Trump's tariffs are illegal, or most of them are illegal, how do you think this will all affect those ongoing negotiations between Canada and the U.S.?
Well, sometimes when things are right on balance and you think you're just about to negotiate, something like this can be to the advantage of Canada. We can sit down with the Americans and say, we're not going to hide behind a court ruling. We're going to put in place a deal that we will respect and that you will respect, and here are the contours of that deal. I believe that it can be a bit of a bargaining advantage, but it doesn't take away the fact that Trump is always going to be Trump. Lutnick is very much like Trump. They speak every single day about these issues. Trump thinks that he's a genius who's the only one who's figured out that tariffs are the best thing in the world. We've spent generations since the Second World War removing tariffs, making trade easier, and the whole world, including the U.S., including Canada, has gotten richer as a result. But Trump's decided that it can always go one way, towards the United States, and there'll be nothing to pay for that. He's learning that his courts don't agree with him, and he's learning that his trading partners don't agree with him.
So what is the wisest move for Canada? Is it to wait to make a deal until this goes through the Supreme Court, or is that just going to take forever? Are we wiser to make a deal while this ruling is appealed?
I think it's the latter, because Canada, of course, wants a deal with the United States, and our businesses, more than anything else, want certainty, predictability, clarity. And that's why the fog of the threats of Trump and what's going to be covered, what's not going to be covered, that's the disaster for business people. Tell us that it's going to be 3% here and 18% there. We'll deal with it. We'll pass it on to our customers in the U.S. We'll deal with it. But we can't every single week be dancing on one foot and then dancing on the other foot and trying to guess which way it's going to go. So I think that there is an opportunity here. And as some of the experts you spoke with earlier were saying, look, The United States Supreme Court is so firmly on the side of Trump, if they realize they're going to have to rule that the tariffs are illegal, it won't be retroactive, so they're going to hold off on that ruling as long as possible. So they can help Trump by giving rulings that just, their decisions, their judgments have just been outrageous in terms of their bias in favor of Trump. On this one, I think it's almost impossible, without the Supreme Court losing all credibility, for them to agree with Trump. So stalling it is a good tactic. We should move in. During that time, it would be a good idea for us to get a signature on a piece of paper with the Americans that'll allow us to move forward, even though some of the tariffs might later be declared illegal, because that's a very uncertain result at a very uncertain time in the future. We just don't know.
All right, Tom, we'll have to leave it there. Great chatting with you, as always.
Good to be with you. All the best, Renee.
You too. That is CTV News political commentator and former NDP leader, Tom Mulcair.